Most people feel safe inside their cars. But what if the road itself hides something darker? Tonight, we dive into 6 creepy stories people experienced while driving alone. Roll up your windows, lock your doors, and listen carefully. I've always believed that the worst things on the road at night are drunk drivers, deer, and the occasional pothole. That belief died on a Tuesday at 1:32 a.m. on a cold country road I had driven 100 times before. I worked late maintenance shifts back then. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid rent. And every night, like clockwork, I'd take that narrow rural road home. 2 faded lanes, endless cornfields, and stretches of forest thick enough to swallow the moonlight whole. No houses, no streetlights, no noise except insects whispering and the occasional rustle of something unseen in the trees. That night, fatigue pressed on me like a weight. My radio was off. I drove with one hand resting against my temple, half lost in thought, half waiting for my bed. The first sign something was wrong was the quiet. Country nights aren't silent. They buzz, they chirp, they breathe. But suddenly the world outside felt still, empty, as if someone had hit mute on life itself. My headlights carved into darkness that felt too thick, like a curtain instead of air. My skin prickled without reason. And then I saw him, a shape on the side of the road, down in the shallow ditch. My headlights caught on what looked like a man sprawled in the grass, one leg twisted, one arm pinned under his own weight, clothing soaked and clinging, hair matted to his face, the kind of image that jolts adrenaline into your bloodstream before your brain fully understands why. I slowed. Maybe he'd been hit. Maybe he was drunk or hurt. Logic still existed back then, before fear hollowed it out. When I came to a stop, just a few feet away, I rolled my window down a crack. Cold air drifted in, thin and metallic like winter breath. I leaned slightly toward the dark shape. "Hey!" My voice caught. I swallowed. Tried again. "Sir? Are you all right?" Nothing. The figure lay motionless, limbs stiff, face turned toward the weeds like he'd fallen mid-breath and never finished it. I stared, waiting for rising and falling chest. A twitch. Anything. Then he moved. Not slowly. Not like a person waking up or reacting to being spoken to. He snapped upright, spine straightening with a violent, unnatural whip, as if pulled upward by a rope. His head jerked, hair sliding away from his face in clumps. And that face, pale, grayish, stretched thin over bone, eyes too wide, dark and bottomless, and a smile, lips peeled back too far, teeth clenched like someone who practiced smiling in a mirror without understanding how humans look. I froze, my body locked in place, breath trapped somewhere behind my ribs. Then he ran at me, no hesitation, no sound, bare feet slapping the asphalt in frantic, jerky strides, arms swinging too loosely, joints bending wrong. Predator sprint. Starving. Mechanical. Wrong. My survival instincts finally kicked back on. I slammed my foot on the gas so hard my leg cramped. Tires spat gravel. My head snapped back into the seat as the car leaped forward. The thing's hands slapped the rear panel, dull thud vibrating through the frame. For a fraction of a second, I saw his fingers dragging across the metal, claw-like, desperate. Then he vanished behind me, but I didn't dare breathe yet. The road straightened. My car surged forward. Wind roared. My heart beat so hard it hurt. Only when I hit 50 did I check the rearview mirror. I wish I hadn't. He stood dead center in the road behind me, perfectly still, arms hanging limp, head tilted slightly like he was studying me. The smile hadn't changed. That unnatural, stretched thing that felt ancient and hungry. He didn't chase. He didn't move. He just watched, as if he knew something I didn't. I didn't blink until I turned a bend and he disappeared from view. When I finally got home, my legs shook so badly I could barely stand. I stumbled inside, locked my door, triple-checked it, then collapsed on my couch with every light in the house blazing. I didn't expect to sleep, but exhaustion dragged me down anyway. Sometime around dawn, I jolted awake to a sound. Tap, tap, tap. Not from inside. From my window. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Fingernails on glass. I didn't move. Every muscle seized. The tapping continued, soft but persistent. Not rain, not branches, like someone testing the glass. Feeling for weakness. Slowly, I forced myself to look. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Empty yard. Pale morning sky. No figure. No movement. Minutes later, I dared step outside to check my car. Mud streaks on the passenger side. Long, smeared fingerprints trailing across the door, like someone had run their hand along it, or held it, or climbed it. My stomach dropped. Something in me twisted. This wasn't a person. Whatever I saw that night did not want help. It wanted me. For weeks after, I wouldn't drive at night. Then I quit my job. Moved. Rational? No. But instinct screamed louder than pride. And yet, it doesn't feel finished. Some nights, when the world goes quiet and sleep crawls away from me, I swear I hear it again. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, patient, like fingertips brushing my window from the outside. But the worst part isn't the tapping. The worst part is the waiting silence afterward. Like something out there is listening for me to breathe, deciding if tonight is the night I finally look again. And sometimes, without meaning to, I do glance toward the glass. One day, I'm afraid I'll see him standing there. That same impossible smile. That same hunger wearing a human shape. Not outside. It was well past midnight when Elena finally stepped out of the banquet hall. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, echoing in the empty parking lot as she walked toward her car. The party behind her had been full of laughter, champagne flutes, and soft jazz. Yet none of that warmth followed her into the night. Outside, the world felt still. Too still. A cold breeze brushed against her bare arms, making her shiver as she unlocked her sedan. She wasn't drunk, just tired. Bone-deep tired. The kind that settles in your lungs and steals your breath slowly. She just wanted to go home, take off her makeup, and crawl into bed. Just a quiet drive, she whispered to herself. The engine purred to life. She exhaled, the interior warm and familiar. Streetlights flickered overhead, painting stripes of yellow across her windshield as she rolled out of the parking lot. The city felt unusually empty, like it had gone to sleep without he. A subtle wake. She was halfway home when she felt it. A sensation. Not dramatic, not sudden. Just a faint, undeniable pressure behind her, as though someone had settled into the back seat. Quietly, gently, carefully, she froze. Her fingers tightened on the steering wheel. The road ahead blurred for a second as her heartbeat climbed into her throat. Don't look, a whisper in her mind warned, because if she looked, she might see something sitting there. She swallowed, forcing a shaky breath through her lungs. It's nothing, she muttered. Just exhaustion. You're imagining things. But imagination didn't explain the slight dip she felt in the rear suspension moments later, or the faint rustle of fabric, or the sudden coldness spreading along her spine like a wet fingertip dragging down skin. She cleared her throat, forcing a laugh. Uber ghosts now, huh? She whispered, trying to joke, because silence was worse, but the silence didn't laugh be. Eck. Rearview mirrors don't. She pressed a little harder on the gas. The hum of the engine filled the car, but it didn't soothe her. Her eyes betrayed her and flicked up to the rearview mirror. Nothing, just empty seats and shadows. Still, her breath remained uneven. Why does the air feel heavier? She adjusted the mirror again, as if the new angle might reveal someone crouched just below sight. Her pulse drummed in her ears, drowning out the road noise. Stop it, she scolded herself. You're alone. But her body didn't believe her. Instinct, primal and ancient, clawed up her chest. Run. Escape. Something is here. Her knuckles turned white around the wheel. The whisper of breath. At the next red light, the world halted. No cars. No pedestrians. Just her, suspended in eerie stillness. And then, right behind her ear, a soft exhale. Human. Warm. Close. She gasped, nearly slamming her knee into the dash. Her head whipped around, too fast, neck straining, searching the back seat. Empty. Again. Her eyes stung. She swallowed hard, heartbeat thunderous. "Okay," she whispered, voice trembling. "Okay, you're tired. That's all." The light turned green. She sped forward as if outrunning the sound. Home isn't always safe. Her house appeared like salvation when she finally turned into her quiet suburban street. Dim porch lights glowing, curtains drawn, silence resting heavily over everything. Relief washed over her until her tires stopped, and the weight in the back seat remained, like a sleeping body refusing to leave. She sat there, hands trembling, unable to move. "Get out," she whispered to herself. "Just get out." She put the car in park, grabbed her purse, and opened the door quickly, because every horror movie taught her lingering was the mistake. She stepped into her driveway, paused, turned slowly. The car sat there quiet, still, harmless in the soft glow of street lamps. No movement inside, just shadows and leather seats. But she still felt watched. She took one small, hesitant step back toward the car. And that's when she saw it. The mark on the glass. The rear windshield had fogged over as though someone was breathing inside. A cloudy patch, fresh, warm condensation. Her heart dropped to her stomach. Then slowly, from the inside, as though a fingertip dragged across the misted surface, letters began to form, one by one, smeared from within the car. T. K. R. T. T. R. D. T. Her mouth fell open. Her breath froze in her lungs. The night stretched around her, swallowing sound, swallowing movement. Her keys slipped from her hand, clattering loudly on the pavement. She took one step back, then another. Her vision blurred with tears, panic flooding her chest like cold water. She wanted to scream, but her voice was gone. A final glimpse, and then movement. Inside the fogged glass, a dark silhouette leaned forward. Slowly, deliberately, something unseen, something that had ridden with her, watched her, sat inches from her in the dark. Her body reacted before her mind did. She ran, not toward the door but away. Away from the house, from the car, from the thing inside. Her heels slapped the ground, breath ragged, the world spinning in terror. Only when she reached the middle of the street did she dare look back. The car was still, silent, harmless again. No more writing, no figure, just her reflection in the glass. But she knew something had been there, and it had chosen to leave. Tonight, aftermath. Neighbors later claimed they never heard a scream, never saw anyone but her on that silent night. And Elena? She refused to drive alone again, sold the car within a week. But sometimes, late at night, just as she begins to drift to sleep, she swears she hears breathing from the corner of her room. Faint exhale, quiet thank you, a reminder that silent passengers don't always stay in the car. Story 3, The Van That Followed. The van with no driver. There's a certain kind of silence on the highway after midnight. Not peaceful, not calm, a silence that feels watchful, like something is waiting just outside the glow of your headlights. Ethan was 19 when it happened, a college freshman driving home for the weekend, half asleep behind the wheel, humming along to a playlist he barely heard. The road stretched endlessly ahead, black, empty, quiet. He remembered glancing at the clock. 2:13 a.m., right between too late and too early. That time where strange things feel most at home. He hadn't seen another car in miles, just darkness and the low hum of the engine beneath him. Then he noticed headlights behind him. Two bright, high beams cutting through the darkness. A vehicle in the distance slowly catching up. At first, he barely paid attention. People pass each other on highways all the time. Nothing unusual, but the lights didn't pass. They stayed right behind him, not tailgating, just present, matching his speed perfectly. He tapped his brakes lightly, a subtle warning. The lights backed off a little, but remained there, following. He squinted through his rearview mirror and saw it more clearly. An older black van. No logos, dirty windows, headlights too bright, too white, like aftermarket bulbs. A vehicle built for transporting something, or someone. He tried to ignore it, turned up the radio, forced a breath, told himself it was someone who happened to be going the same way. But the longer it stayed behind him, the colder the air inside his car seemed to grow. He changed lanes. The van followed. He slowed down. It slowed too. He sped up, kept pace, never letting the distance change too much. That was when the fear started to settle into his bones. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. He checked his phone, barely 1 bar of service. His heart kicked faster. For a moment, he considered pulling over, but instinct screamed, "Don't stop." So he didn't. The miles crawled by, his pulse loud in his ears, each second feeling stretched thin, tight, ready to snap. Then he saw a sign. Rest area 2 miles. Safety. Light. People. Witnesses. He put on his turn signal. The van reacted immediately, swerving slightly, as if startled, almost agitated. Ethan felt sweat bead at the back of his neck. He kept driving, following the exit ramp toward the brightly lit gas station beyond. He risked a glance in his mirror. The van slowed, then drifted toward the shoulder. His headlights flickered, then turned off. Just like that. No gradual dimming, no parking lights, just gone, swallowed by the dark shoulder of the highway. He pulled into the gas station lot, heart hammering. There were several cars there, a delivery truck, the warm glow of fluorescent lights, a cashier visible behind thick smudged glass. Safety, or so he thought. He waited in his car for a minute. 2, 5, nothing. No van, not even a shadow on the exit ramp. Finally, he got out to stretch, legs shaky, air cold on his skin. A strange relief washed over him. Maybe it was just some weird coincidence. Someone tired like him. Someone who pulled over and turned their lights off. He tried to believe it. He forced himself to breathe. Went inside. Bought a bottle of water he didn't need. Stood by the window and watched cars come and go. Normal. Everything around him felt normal. When he went back outside, he froze mid-step. His car's rear bumper was wet. Not like rain, but smeared. Streaks of moisture dragged across the surface, as if someone had run their palm across it. Deliberately, slowly, he touched it. Cold, fresh. His stomach sank. Someone had been inches behind him. Reaching, touching, watching. He looked around the lot. Every face suddenly felt suspicious. Every dark corner too deep. He unlocked his car, climbed in, and drove off without a second thought. Back on the highway, he kept scanning his mirrors, forcing himself to blink, to breathe, to tell himself it was over. And for a while it was. Miles passed. Silence returned. His heartbeat slowed. Then, in the distance ahead, 2 headlights. White, too bright, motionless on the shoulder. The same van, parked facing the road, engine silent. But this time, he wasn't driving past it. He was driving toward it. His breath caught. The van didn't move, didn't pull out, didn't react. Simply sat there, waiting. Dark, patient, hungry somehow. Watching. He couldn't prove it, but he felt it. Not a driver. Not a presence like a person. This was something else. Like the van itself was alive, and it had chosen him. He passed it slowly, forcing himself not to look directly, only through the corner of his eye. Inside the windshield was pure black. No light, no outline, no shape, just emptiness. And then, only then, as his car rolled ahead, the van's headlights blinked back on. Bright, white, focused. Ethan almost screamed, almost swerved off the road. But the van didn't move, didn't follow. It simply sat there, blades of tall grass trembling around its tires as if something inside was breathing. He drove the rest of the way home shaking, barely remembering the road, barely remembering how he got to his driveway. He parked, locked the doors, sat there listening. Silence. Finally, he went inside, tried to sleep, failed. Hours later, when dawn finally came, curiosity clawed at him. He peeked out the window toward his driveway, and for a moment, in the space between heartbeats, He swore he saw something wet on the trunk of his car again. A single streak like a dragging finger. One long mark, then nothing. He never drove home that late again. And every time he sees a van on the highway now, especially a black one with dirty windows, he feels that same cold grip around his chest. Like something is still out there, waiting, tracing him, remembering. Some things don't chase you because they want to catch you. Some things just want you to know. Story 4, The Crying Voice. Don't stop. Truck drivers get used to silence. Long nights, empty highways, just the engine, the road, and the hum of tires wearing themselves into the asphalt. Some drivers say the highway has ghosts, souls lost in accidents, people who vanish at gas stops, strange things moving in the dark where headlights never touch. Mark wasn't the superstitious type. 20 years behind the wheel, hauling freight across empty states. He'd seen accidents, weird people, late-night hallucinations from sleep deprivation. He thought nothing could scare him anymore. He was wrong. This happened on Highway 87, somewhere between desert and mountains. A stretch of road that felt like the world had ended and no one told him. No buildings, no lights, not even stars that night. Just thick black sky like a curtain pulled over the world. Mark had been driving 15 hours straight. Radio off, windows up, heater humming low. He was sipping lukewarm coffee, fighting that soft, sinking tiredness behind the eyes. That was when he heard it. Soft, fragile. A sound that didn't belong on a highway at 2:46 in the morning. A child crying. At first he thought it was the radio glitching or a memory in his head. He ignored it. The sound faded. Then it came again, this time clearer. Small, wet, scared. A little girl. It sounded like it was coming from the passenger seat. Mark gripped the wheel, knuckles pale under the dashboard glow. He didn't turn his head, didn't breathe, because he knew no one was supposed to be in that truck. The crying wavered, like tiny breaths hitching between sobs. Too real, too close. Mark forced his voice out, cracked and low. "Who's there?" Silence. For a few seconds, he heard nothing but the engine. His heart ran heavy and loud in his ears. Then the crying returned, louder this time, trembling, panicked, as if a small body was curled beside him, shaking, as if tiny hands were covering a tear-soaked face inches away. He couldn't help it, he turned his head. The seat was empty. Nothing but the worn leather, the map folder, and his jacket. His breath came out in a hard shudder. Fear crawled up his spine, cold and patient, like fingers. He flicked on the cabin light. Nothing changed. No one there. But the crying continued, even louder now. Right next to him, like the air itself was weeping. Mark slammed the brakes. The truck growled, tires screeching, trailer shifting. The crying stopped instantly, cut off mid-sob. Silence hit like a hammer. Mark sat there shaking, headlights spilling weak yellow light across the road that swallowed everything beyond it. He forced himself to glance again at the passenger seat. Empty. He swore under his breath and reached for the door. Cold wind slapped him as he stepped onto the asphalt. He walked around the cab, opened the passenger door wide, shining his phone flashlight inside. Nobody. Just the jacket, the empty coffee cup, nothing out of place. He leaned in closer, half expecting a tiny face to appear behind the seat. But the cab remained dead silent, unmoving. Maybe he was too tired. Maybe his brain was playing tricks. He needed rest. Shaking it off, he climbed back into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and killed the cabin light. Darkness settled again. He exhaled, adjusted his grip on the wheel, clicked his seatbelt, and froze. A whisper, right at his ear. Soft, childlike, breath warm enough to touch his skin. "Don't stop." Mark's entire body turned to ice. He didn't scream, couldn't. His throat locked, lungs frozen, heart pounding against his ribs like it wanted out. He didn't dare move. Seconds passed, maybe hours. Time felt wrong, stretched thin and trembling like a frayed wire. Then he heard it again, this time from the floor near his feet. A soft dragging sound, like tiny hands crawling up the side of the seat. Mark's survival instinct kicked in hard. He floored the gas. The truck lurched forward violently, engine roaring like a wounded animal, tires spitting grit as the world blurred past his windshield. He didn't look down, didn't dare look at the passenger seat. He stared dead ahead, eyes burning, breath rapid and ragged. Behind him, somewhere just outside the hum of the engine, he swore he heard soft movement, like a small body shifting on vinyl, like someone settling into a seat comfortably. And then, a quiet sniffle, a hiccup, tiny breath. The crying started again. This time it didn't sound scared. It sounded angry and close. So close he could almost feel the tears soaking into his shoulder. He drove until sunrise, never braking, never turning his head. When the light finally broke the horizon and the sky bled gray-blue, the crying faded. Faded like it was dissolving into the daylight. By the time he reached a truck stop, the silence returned. Too real, too loud, almost painful. He parked, got out, closed the door behind him slowly. He didn't open the passenger door, didn't check the cab. He went inside, pale and trembling, and sat at a diner booth as the morning crowd rolled in. A waitress asked him if he was okay. He didn't answer, just stared at his black coffee as steam curled up. When he finally walked back to his truck hours later, the cab looked normal. Empty, clean, silent. He forced himself to breathe, opened the door, and saw it. On the passenger seat, a faint, tiny handprint, left like condensation on glass. Finger marks small as a child's. Fresh. Mark shut the door slowly. He stopped driving nights after that. Started taking daytime hauls only. People asked why, he'd laugh it off, call it age, call it exhaustion. But sometimes, when roads get too quiet and dusk creeps in, he swears he hears it again. A breath, a sniffle, a whisper brushing the back of his ear. Don't stop. And he doesn't. Not anymore. Story 5: The Crossroads Stranger. Night drives used to calm him. Adrian had always admired the way darkness swallowed noise, how the world felt softer, quieter, like reality held its breath after midnight. The road belonged to him alone. No honking, no city roar, no responsibilities chasing him in the rearview mirror. Just headlights cutting through the night, engine humming, and cold air creeping through cracked windows. But this night was different. From the moment he turned off the main highway into rural backroads, a strange heaviness settled in his chest. The GPS had glitched twice, recalculating in that confused robotic voice, as if even it didn't quite understand where it was sending him. Shortcut, he muttered to himself. A lie, but it helped. The road narrowed. Trees pressed in on both sides, branches like bony fingers scraping at the sky. The asphalt turned patchy, cracked in places, shiny in others where rainwater refused to evaporate. Fog drifted low, tendrils curling like they had life and intent. His radio crackled with static. He frowned. He had no signal out here. The phone icon had long turned to a red slash. Still, the static felt deliberate, like whispering through iron wires. He turned the radio off, but the silence didn't comfort him. Felt thicker now, oppressive, like the darkness was listening. Minutes stretched, or maybe hours. Rural time didn't obey city logic. Then, like a curtain lifting, the trees parted, revealing an old crossroads. A single, flickering lamppost stood at the center, an antique metal pole leaning slightly, humming faintly as if it struggled to stay alive. For dirt paths intersected under it, disappearing into fields swallowed by midnight. Adrian slowed to a stop. At first glance, the place felt abandoned, like time had forgotten it long before people did. He scanned left, right. No houses, no movement, no wind. Even insects seemed to avoid the place. Then he saw her. A woman stood on the roadside, illuminated by the failing lamplight. White dress, the old-fashioned kind that brushed the ground as if stitched decades ago. Long black hair fell in heavy strands over her shoulders. Bare feet on gravel. Hands clasped gently in front as though she had been waiting politely. She didn't shiver. She didn't fidget. She simply stood. And then, she raised one hand, slowly, and waved, requesting a ride. Adrian's breath caught. Human instinct warred in him. A lone woman at almost 2 a.m., middle of nowhere, tugged at compassion. But the stillness, the unnatural stillness, froze his spine. He moved his car closer, cautious. As the headlights swept her face, the world seemed to exhale and scream at once. Where eyes should have been was smooth skin. No eyelids, no sockets, just pale, featureless flesh stretched too perfectly, like porcelain pulled taut. Her mouth was neutral, expressionless, horribly calm. Adrian's mind scrambled. Fight, flee, freeze tangled inside him. Something primal took over. He slammed the accelerator. Gravel spat. Tires shrieked. The woman didn't move. But as he passed her, he felt something tug inside his skull. As if her empty face followed him without moving. Like the world rotated around her instead of him driving away. His heart hammered as the car shot down the road. He forced himself not to look back. He could not look back. But panic has a cruel gravity. Against every instinct screaming inside him, he flicked his eyes to the rearview mirror. The crossroads was empty. Completely empty. The lamp still flickered. The dirt still stretched barren. There was no woman, no dress, no waiting figure, as if nothing had ever been there. Adrian's breath stuttered. He felt his grip on reality fray. Did I imagine it? He swallowed hard. His pulse slowed. He forced a laugh, thin, fragile. Stress, exhaustion, dark roads. Brains made shapes out of shadows all the time. That was all just shadows. He turned off the radio again. It had turned itself back on somehow. A soft sound crackled through the static. A whisper, faint but sharp, like breath brushing the inside of his ear. You shouldn't have looked. His blood froze. The hair on his neck lifted. His foot pressed harder on the pedal. Then, tick, 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 a soft tapping behind him. On the rear window, like knuckles. Slow, patient. His entire body trembled. He refused to turn around. He would not look. He couldn't. The tapping stopped. Silence. And then, a voice coated in cold breath slid across his spine. You still can. Adrian screamed, swerving as the road blurred. When he reached civilization, lights, people, noise, he didn't stop driving until he reached his apartment garage, shaking, crying without shame. He sat frozen until dawn bled into the sky. When he finally dared look at the rear window, there were fingerprints on the glass. Small, perfect, pale smears, as though someone blind had pressed their face close to find him. Some roads are not shortcuts. Some crossroads are not just intersections. And some travelers are never meant to reach your car, but will follow forever if they ever do. Story 6, The Running Shadow. He hated driving mountain roads at night, but there was no other choice. Leo was a college student going back to his dorm after visiting his family. A late dinner, a longer goodbye than planned, and now he was alone on a narrow mountain road past midnight, guided by nothing but his headlights and weak moonlight slipping through clouds. The city glow ended miles ago. Out here, darkness didn't just fall. It swallowed. The trees pressed from both sides, ancient pines and crooked branches, forming a tunnel of blackness. Even the radio lost signal hours earlier, leaving the interior of the car filled with nothing but engine hum and occasional rattle from loose gravel. He rolled down the window slightly. Cold mountain air seeped in, sharp and metallic. It carried the smell of wet soil, pine needles, and something faint underneath. Something he couldn't quite place, like old stone and rain-soaked wood. The road twisted and dipped, headlights cutting slices through fog patches that clung stubbornly to the asphalt. Leo rubbed his eyes. He wasn't sleepy, but the quiet did something to your brain, made thoughts echo louder. The mind searched for shapes in darkness. Every shadow flicked like movement. Every branch scraping the wind sounded like whispering. He turned the radio knob again. Static. Another try. More static. Perfect, he muttered. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. The road curved. His headlights bounced on reflective markers. Nothing but endless asphalt and forest. Then he saw it. First, he thought it was a deer. A dark shape ahead on the side of the road, just at the edge of light. But deer don't stand completely still like that. And deer don't look like that. The shape was tall, human tall, maybe taller. A silhouette, pitch black, as if carved from the absence of light. It didn't glow in headlights, it absorbed them. No face, no detail, just the outline of a person standing there, slightly slouched, as though shoulders hung forward unnaturally. Leo's breath stalled. His fingers tightened around the wheel. His instinct whispered, "Keep driving. Don't slow down. Don't look too long." As he passed the figure, his peripheral vision caught something that made his stomach knot. The figure turned. Not slowly, not naturally. It snapped, like a shadow reacting to light, twisting without body movement. And then it moved. It ran. Not toward the car, but beside it, parallel to the road. Kept pace perfectly with his vehicle. At 40 miles per hour. Its limbs didn't move right. Too fast. Too fluid. Like gravity and muscle didn't apply. The arms dangled like loose ropes, while the legs propelled it forward in impossible strides, barely touching the ground. Leo's heart hammered. The hairs on his arms rose. His pulse roared in his ears. "No, no, no, no," he whispered. He pressed the accelerator. The car surged. The shadow kept up. His breath tightened. His hands trembled around the wheel. He looked forward, refusing to glance at the shape still running at his side. But in the corner of his eye he could see it, gliding, weightless, wrong. He pushed harder on the gas. 50 miles per hour. 55 miles per hour. 60 miles per hour. Still there. Every instinct screamed. His ribcage felt too tight, like something inside was trying to claw out. He dared a quick glance. The shadow ran inches from the trees, yet its feet never stumbled. It never lost speed. And though it had no face, Leo felt no new. It was staring right at him. Somehow aware. Somehow hungry. He turned his eyes back to the road immediately. His voice came out in a cracked whisper. "What do you want?" He didn't realize he said it aloud until his breath fogged in the cold air. The shadow abruptly stopped running. Leo exhaled in a shaky rush, adrenaline crashing into relief. He forced a laugh, thin and terrified. "It's nothing. Just my brain. Just a shadow, right?" Silence. Then, thud. A violent bang hit the roof of his car. Then another, like something heavy landed on top. Leo screamed. His car swerved. He yanked the wheel to steady it. Breath ripped from his lungs in harsh gasps. Something was on the roof. Claws or fingers scraped metal. He heard movement shifting weight. Slow, deliberate. Not like an animal bounding and confused, but like something crawling with purpose. He locked his eyes on the road. Tears blurred his vision. His chest heaved as terror gnawed at his mind. He didn't dare look in the mirror. He didn't dare stop. He didn't dare scream again. "It's not real, it's not real, it's not real." A whisper drifted through the cracked window. Too close, too soft. Not a voice he recognized, yet familiar in its cold amusement. "You saw me." Leo almost vomited from fear. He slammed his foot on the accelerator. The engine roared, whining as if begging mercy. The car tore down the road, tires skidding in spots, but he didn't care. He needed light, people, noise, anything. The roof above him creaked. Pressure shifted. The weight crawled toward the windshield. He saw a dark shape slide forward in the reflection of the glass. Featureless, fluid, like tar forming a human outline. Leo screamed and burst out of the tree line into view of a distant gas station, glowing like salvation in the blackness. The weight vanished instantly. No scraping. No thud. Gone. He didn't slow until he screeched into the station lot, parking near the bright doors as if light could burn nightmares away. The moment the engine cut off, he sobbed, forehead pressed to the wheel, air shuddering from his lungs. He forced himself to look at the roof through the sunroof glass. Nothing. Just faint streaks, like soot-stained finger marks left by something that had no flesh, only presence. He waited 30 minutes before stepping out. Legs shaking, each breath trembling, eyes darting to every shadow. The world felt normal again. Yet when he turned back to his car, dread returned. On the dusty roof, barely visible unless light hit right, was a long black smear, as though something had crouched there and slid off the side without touching the ground. Leo never took that mountain road again. He never drove alone at night again. But sometimes, when he tries to sleep, he hears soft footsteps on his ceiling, pacing, waiting, and every so often, when he lies awake, staring at his dark window, he swears he sees something outside, running, keeping pace.